We are witnessing an all out attack on man's best friend. Call for dog free areas in Wales to tackle racism. The recommendation has been put to the Welsh Government in a report responding to its anti racism action plan, but the goal of dog free areas is unclear. Wow, I wonder what group of people this is supposed to benefit. There are calls for dog free areas to be introduced in Wales as part of the Welsh Government's anti racism action plan. The plan, which has now been extended to include environmental factors such as climate change and rural affairs, even though we all occupy the same climate, apparently it affects others more than white people. You know, who knew? Hey ho, trust the science. Was first launched in June of 2022. The Welsh Government sought the views of stakeholders, including Climate Cymru Brame, which compiled the report. The study by the Climate Action Group was carried out with Welsh Government funding. It includes contributions from minority ethnic people who live in the North Wales region, students, and professionals in the environmental sector. Contributors to the study noted barriers, including a lack of green spaces in their local area. Well, then you live in the wrong area. Try and live near a green space. The one thing that I'm planning on doing when I have a more permanent residence is if there isn't a forest within 40 seconds of where I live, then I'm not living there. You ever do that? I'll love just buggering off into a forest for a wee walk. It's amazing. No headphones, no phone. Well, I still have my phone on me, just in case of an emergency. But I love just buggering off into a forest. Just picking a nice little spot and just sitting there and thinking. It's important to unplug. It's very important to unplug. Go for a walk in nature. During the day when the sun's out, find a nice little glen or just a nice little opening in a forest and just sit there and shut your eyes and think. It's extremely important. You should all be doing that very regularly. One of the report's recommendations to the government is to create allotments and dog-free areas in local green spaces, but the report does not elaborate on how the dog-free zones would help inclusion and tackle racism, and I can tell you the exact reason why. It's because under Islam, dogs are considered haram. That's why they're viewed as dirty creatures and they don't like them, they don't like being near them, they don't like being around them, etc., etc. So this rule is specifically to benefit them. You know, the people from all races and walks of life and belief that all own dogs are now going to have their outside experience completely modified to suit this one group of people. But hey, it's in the name of diversity and inclusion by excluding everybody else. Other recommendations include encouraging a greater number of minority ethnic people to volunteer in the environmental sector. I'm going to shut that one down. Volunteer? Fuck you. Pay them. Hell, hey, volunteer, come work for free. No, fuck you. Charity work, yeah, whatever. Volunteer for charity work, that's absolutely fine. But if nobody wants to volunteer, nobody wants to volunteer. Like tough titty, you want people to actually do some work for the government, fucking pay them. You've got the money. A communication strategy to help bridge the gap between minority ethnic people and community-led initiatives is also suggested. Andrew R.T. Davies, leader of the Welsh Conservatives, the largest opposition party in the Senate, has called it outdated virtue signalling nonsense. The virtue signalling wokeism stuff does feel outdated now, doesn't it? It feels like there was far too big of a push. We slapped all of them away. Sometimes the government completely ignored the will of the people and just went ahead and did it anyway. But it does feel outdated now, doesn't it? It does feel like we're all just ready to move on from this crap and maybe focus on some actual problems that people actually have. Maybe we could do that. You know, what about poverty? What about lack of social services? What about those things, I think the fact that some poor bugger has to wait 12 months to get his cancer tumour seen to, and then they're like, oh, it's too late now. You've got about 6 months at best. Sorry, maybe that's a much bigger problem that we should be focusing on. Instead of all this dog-free area crap. Sorry, maybe my priorities are just a little bit warped. He said it is completely out of touch with the needs of the people of Wales. Yeah, I think the focus right now should be on nonces walking completely free from courts, while people from Southport are getting sent away just for standing there in the crowd. Maybe that, or maybe the fact that the working class are going through hell right now. Maybe that. I think that's a bit more important. Maybe government money could instead go to that. Maybe. Aye. Labour is stuck on yesterday's thinking, the kind that is being roundly rejected globally, he added. And it is. People are sick and fed up. People are sick and fed up of the government pouring so much time, money, staff, and manpower into just dumb shit. Just dumb shit that nobody actually cares about when people out there have real, genuine, proper problems that are just not being addressed. Just not being addressed at all. Like, people are getting sick of it. That's why they're fed up. A Welsh government spokesperson said it is committed to creating an anti-racist nation by 2030. Yeah, good luck with that. And just like every other government promise, it's not going to happen. Our anti-racist Wales action plan is built on the values of anti-racism and calls for zero tolerance of all racial inequality, they added. Absolute nonsense. Dogs are man's best friend. Arguably, this is the problem is when you're going back to Neolithic times, records are somewhat murky. Neolithic people didn't really keep records, right? But it's argued that the very first creature that mankind domesticated was the dog. That's what's argued. That was the very first creature that mankind domesticated. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I believe it's true. I believe it is true. And obviously we use them for hunting, for protection, for tracking. You know, they're called man's best friend for a reason. The reason the human race managed to get to where it is today, I personally feel would not have been possible without the dog. Right, I feel that the dog was an instrumental species in helping mankind get to where it is now, and in exchange for their thousands of years of service and helping us build civilization and keeping the predators at bay and keeping the deer in our sight, I feel that now that we keep them in nice cozy houses with, you know, bountiful food and nice head pats and everything all day, I feel I feel that we owe them that. I feel that we owe them that because we wouldn't be where we are today if it was not for them. Yeah, we might have overbred some of them into horrific monstrosities with a slew of genetic issues, but we are currently seeking to undo that now. I know the things with pugs, bulldogs, Frenchies with the nose bred in and the hip dysplasia and all this type of stuff as well. Basically, instead of just allowing the breeds to die out, what people are trying to do is basically reverse engineer them, you know, breed them in a way that corrects those problems, which I think is great. I think that's what we should be doing. However, one thing that dogs love is walkies, right? It's not enough to just keep them in your house. I mean, pugs, especially the pugs I had, they didn't like walkies. They liked walkies for about 4 minutes. Right, and then they wanted back in the house. They're not the type of dog you take out on a massive walk, at least not the ones that I had, right? Not maybe mine were just lazy bastards, like who knows, right? But you owe them walkies. For a lot of dog breeds, you have to take them on walkies. They've got a lot of energy. They're big dogs. They need to burn those calories off. Otherwise, they just get fat. Otherwise, they get miserable. Dogs get depression as well, just like us. If you don't take them out for walkies to see the outside world, sniff some butts and stuff like that. That's what dogs need. That's what dogs do. And as a dog owner, you owe that to them. They're called man's best friend for a reason.